Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button below. It helps the channel grow, and we can't thank you enough. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok, and now Reddit. And also, when you listen to us on your favorite podcast provider, don't forget, leave us a rating or even a comment.
Yeah, or both.
Both, indeed. Yes.
We got Jets and Bombers talk and NFL talk and other NHL talk. So let's get right into it. The Winnipeg Jets, 4-0 against the Islanders. That's what happened at home. They have no soul. Their soul has been taken.
That was terrible. You came off that road trip that wasn't great, and then you come back home, you get smoked by Colorado at home.
Yeah. And
you're thinking, okay, it's the end of a road trip. First game back, it's always doesn't turn out well. But then to lose like that to the Islanders on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Before we get into how bad they've been playing lately, let's at least address the trade for Nino Niederreiter. Great trade in my mind. I give it a B+ in a trade grade. Definitely adds depth of forward, especially when Perfetti comes back because he's on the injured reserve again. I don't know what to do with that small guy, but that's another discussion any which way. And he definitely boosts the mid forward when he does come back. The guy can score and he has size, which is a good thing. Like, remember when the Jets were dominant? Like, they were big and fast, so they got a little bigger, they got a little faster.
Yeah, I'm probably giving it a B+ as well. I was kind of going back between a B and a B+ in that range for now, and then see what happens. But yeah, he can add to it. He can add to the power play. He drives the offense, so he'll be that big body with that forecheck, and he'll get into those corners and dig that puck out. And like you said, it fills into that top six with Perfetti out. Even with Perfetti there now, it gives him a little bit more balance on that. Or once Perfetti gets back, it gives them more balance on that top nine that they can move guys around. And especially if someone's struggling, they can move them down to that third line and move a guy up. They're not too concerned, of course. Any injuries will again affect that. And Perfetti's out for 8 weeks? So
this is playoffs. We have to be a playoff team to see this in full effect.
Yeah. It gets us back to almost where we were with Perfetti. I know Niederreiter has more goals than Perfetti has at this point with 18 goals. But we're still kind of, not, I don't know if we're that much further ahead until Perfetti gets back. But this helps us now. At least Appleton can drop down, who actually looks like he's hurt anyways again. So he may be out. And Niederreiter likes to shoot, which the Jets lack sometimes.
I think it doesn't fix the big problem. The big problem is the core of this team. And this goes back, watched it. Rick Bowness again a month earlier talked about this team. When they're down, they can't dig themselves out. They don't face adversity well, and their big players aren't showing up. And this is the same thing a month later. So that trade does not fix that. And and that trade that's the deeper issues than what they can fix at the trade deadline, I'm sorry to say. No, and that's the thing. Do you make another deal thinking that this might be your year? You're going to ride Hellebuck further, like you say. It's more rotten than anything. And this is the way the Jets are playing right now. Is what I expected them to play almost all season. That kind of terrible average play outside of the playoff picture. I even expected them to almost be in the race for Bedard. But then somehow they're playing Bonus's game. They're forechecking hard. They're playing hard, and they weren't making mistakes. And now it's just gone out the window here. And one more trade is not going to fix it. 3 years ago, they looked like the team for the past 3 years, not 3 years ago. For the past 3 years, so I don't think I think this is the move. This is the big move that'll happen. Something else might happen, but this is the big move, and I don't know.
Yeah, this is a move that Niederreiter's got one more year, right? At least signed. So it's not just a rental guy. He'll be back around next year. Decent salary. I think he's around $4 million. So nothing crazy there. If the guy's going to chip in 20 goals, paying him $4 million is probably a good price, right?
Yeah.
And they still have cap space left if they wanted to make a deal between $4 to $5 million, depending on when they make the trade. So there's still that option there, but who do you go after if you're going to go after anyone? Max Domi, if you can. I don't know. He's pricing himself out with his points. The way trades are going lately in the NHL, no one's going to be cheap in the next few days.
And you're limited to who actually wants to come to Winnipeg. Winnipeg is on so many players no trade lists. So the pickings are slim.
Yeah.
Right now, anyways. And they're slim because Winnipeg.
Yeah, and that's the deal with Timo Meier, right? We'll talk about that trade later, but he wasn't going to sign in Winnipeg. So even if Winnipeg made a deal for him, you're not going to give up all those assets and first rounders and all that stuff to have the guy come in for, a couple months and then leave.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jets can't do that, right? I mean, as much as everyone wants to see Timo Meier here or anything like that, the Jets need to draft guys and get them into Winnipeg to then say, hey, it's not so bad to actually live in Winnipeg. I like it here. Like Kyle Connor has. He's embraced the city and he signed a long deal. Nick Ehlers did too. Shifley, Hellebuck. All these guys stuck around, They could have signed until they got to restricted free agency, but they went beyond that. So you got to get these guys in here and hopefully it works out. Niederreiter seems like he's happy to be here so far. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we talked about this team and not being able to face adversity. I believe they're a group that turtles when they're in trouble. Bonus has said it. It's not like I'm making it up. I'm going by the coach's words. They do not face adversity well. And I think this is maybe a small factor in this is because they don't have a captain. I think it's definitely doing a little more harm than it is doing any good at this point. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, they had Wheeler last year as a captain and it still didn't really change a heck of a lot in that terms. I'm not putting the C back on Wheeler. We know he was a leader of that toxic dressing room we were talking about. I did not say that. But my goodness. I mean, Wheeler's not getting it back. I mean, if you're giving it to anyone at this point, you're probably giving it to Morrissey, right? Yeah. But at this point in the season, you're probably not giving it to anyone anyways. But yeah, they need some kind of leadership. But you got those guys. Like, do they really need a C on their shirt to be able to get these guys back and playing hard? Get rid of the dumb penalties they've been taking lately, especially Dubois, man. Good God. That guy's been in the box like crazy. Who's stepping up in that room, do you think, talking? I don't know. I would hope it's Morrissey if he wants to step up and be a captain and show he can be a captain. I'm hoping he's stepping up. Yeah. Who else is going to be it? Shifley maybe, but that's the thing. Any which way. Yeah, they got some work to do, man. I mean, they've scored only 2 goals in their last 3 games. Why was Rittich in net even on Sunday? I think at this point, if you want to make the playoffs, you have to ride Hellebuck as much as possible. I know on Friday, a lot of people will say, oh, he let in 4 goals in 5 shots, but good God, the quality of those shots was crazy. You can't leave Rantanen on 2-on-1 and give him that much time. McKinnon on a breakaway. No, it's tough. Yeah. What do you want me to say, man? That guy is not playing well. They have no heart. Like they look clueless. They're not physical on the ice. You're not going to win much when you can't score, and you can't score at even strength. And they have not scored at even strength much lately, right? They haven't scored an even strength goal in 3 games now. They have 1 win in 6 games. Since the All-Star break, they won those 2 games right out of the All-Star break against Chicago and Seattle. And then they've only won 1 game since. And that was a miraculous win because Hellebuck stopped 50 shots. Yeah. So other than the wins and losses, then you talk about statistics there. What statistic best explains the Jets and what's going on right now? I think I've pretty much given my stat, but you go ahead first. I'm going to go with that. Like, just their lack of even strength goals. Like we were complaining about the power play and how it wasn't doing well. I mean, it's not that that's doing great, but they're not scoring at 5-on-5. Yeah. And we always said that even the bottom 6 is not chipping, but it was. So now the top 6 have gone cold. Yeah. And you got 3 goals in your last 3 games. 2 of them two goals in your last 3 games. Both of those were on the power play. The last game they scored even straight goal was against Rangers, and then they scored a couple against the Devils, but they got 9 goals in their last 6 games total. You're not winning nothing like that. Yeah. So they got to get it together. Something's got to be figured out. We'll see tomorrow night. I don't know, but the statistic I have, which is not really even an in-game analytics statistic, is 0 moves made in the offseason to fix that locker room. 0 moves made in the offseason to fix the holes and the weaknesses that everyone saw. Forwards and defense. The depth was weak. 0 moves made. That's the stat I'm going to go on. Same problem. I can't, man. I'm gonna get myself heart problems if I keep going on like this. I can't. They're just not playing horrible, and it's because they sat and ran it back with the same team again.
Yeah, and I kind of took that as, hey, we're not expecting much of this season, and that's why they were also hiring Rick Bowness. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then they started winning games, and now I'm expecting them to make some moves, even though they're kind of in a slump here right now. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think Chevy's going to do anything there. We're just going to ride out this season, and maybe we'll still make the playoffs, but we'll probably be a first round exit.
It'll be ugly.
The worst thing to me, the thing I don't, it's not that I don't like it, but
Colorado in the first round.
Yeah, I hate that Dallas has lost many games, but they've lost a lot of them in overtime. Same with Calgary. So they got this loser point that is actually, especially Calgary, is keeping them in the race. When the Jets actually have more wins, but they've only went to overtime or lost once in overtime. So it's only one other point.
Yeah.
So, as much as we want to rag on the Jets, how bad they're doing, the only reason these other teams are actually still in this race is because they've lost in overtime. I don't know if we have to give them credit for that, but it's a terrible way to keep these races close.
Well, they got credit for it with a point, so they're getting something for doing what? For hanging around?
For hanging around. It's just like, hey, we're good at getting that that overtime game. Now I don't care if we win or lose.
Jets week ahead. Kings on Wednesday. 5-3-2 in their last 10. They lost 3 of their last 4. I'll take the Jets in that one.
Yeah, I think they'll get that spark at least with Niederreiter coming in. They had him with Dubois and Ehlers today, so we'll see if that goes. I know Dubois was coming off. He left practice today, lower body injury or something like that, so he's got a nagging thing there, so I don't know if he'll even play. And then they also had Niederreiter on the first power play. So the one thing with the Kings is they can score, but they give up a lot of goals as well. So hopefully this is the time for the Jets to be able to break out of this goal-scoring slump and shut the Kings down. But Kings had a great power play, number 3 in the league.
Yeah.
Bottom 10 penalty kill, though. So got to take advantage of those, and hopefully the penalty kill for the Jets can step up.
What do you got?
I'm going to take the Jets in this one just because of the Niederreiter effect.
All right. Got Oilers on the back-to-back Friday, Saturday, first in Edmonton, then in Winnipeg. I don't think the Jets can skate with them in Edmonton, and I don't think they can skate with them in Winnipeg. So I'm going to take Edmonton on both ones.
Yeah, Edmonton.
It hurts me to say. It pains me to say.
Edmonton's almost like the Kings. Like they score a lot, but they give up a lot of goals. I mean, they got more goals than the Kings altogether. So I'm going to take the Oilers in Edmonton on Friday. I'm going to coin flip it on Saturday and say the Jets could actually steal that one. But they're going to need to score because obviously McDavid is going to score. And I know Hellebuck's good, but if McDavid's getting through and getting some quality chances, it's going to be tough to stop him.
He's ridiculous. Fifth fastest 800.
Oh, yeah. I always look at that. It's amazing to me, that guy on that team, and how, like, even right now, Ken Holland, it's like, you got to do something, man. You got to try to make some kind of deal to give these Oilers a chance in the playoffs, right? You can't stand pat. You can't take Chevy's thing and stand pat and not do anything because it's not going to help this team at all.
Good question on Twitter earlier on. Is McDavid the most dominant in his respective sport?
It's hard to think because, I mean, you got like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. Is he a dominant guy? McDavid, he is, but he can only carry your team so far in hockey being dominant, right?
Absolutely.
Basketball, you can carry a whole squad. Like LeBron James can carry a squad. Maybe not as much nowadays, but before.
Absolutely.
Right? Basketball, you need one good player. I mean, if McDavid was in the NBA and had that same skill level, he can drag that team to a couple championships.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it in the NHL when you don't have a surrounding cast.
He does make other athletes look childish around him.
Oh, for sure.
Like skating. Did you see this goal? He put like backhand over the goalie's outside shoulder. It's disgusting.
He's good. He's fun to watch. I don't know if he's going to get it done in Edmonton, though.
We'll see. This
is a big week for the Jets. Big week. Hey?
Will you cheer for him? They made the Stanley Cup?
My cousin's from Edmonton, so he's probably thinking, yeah, you better. But I don't know if I could still cheer for Edmonton in the Stanley Cup after what they did to us in the 80s.
That's fair.
Early 90s.
Smythe Division Blues still lurking. Smythe Division Blues.
Yeah.
Give us a like. Put your comments down about the Winnipeg Jets and the NHL and trade transactions. Let's move on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the CFL talk is got a good question. Is this the best receiving core in Winnipeg Blue Bomber history? I really want to hear your answer.
All right. Well, I'm going to preface this by obviously I don't know much about the Bomber. I mean, I know about the Bombers, but I don't know about the players before like mid 80s, right? Because I mean, I was just born late 70s, so I know more of the 80s teams and beyond kind of thing. So I can't talk about the receivers beforehand. It's hard to say. They definitely can be, but I'm looking back at even 2000 when you had Bobby Gordon, G. Roy Simon, Stiegel, and Albert Johnson III. Like that, and they didn't get to play beyond that season together, but I think that could have turned into probably the top wide receiver core of the Bombers.
Yeah.
And then you go back even to the 80s where you had Joe Pop, James Murphy, Perry Tuttle. I'd probably put the Bobby Gordon, G. Roy Simon, Stiegel over that. This one seems to me, this 2023 cast, as the most exciting and the potential probably to be the best in Bomber history.
Yeah. And the depth.
Yeah.
And the depth. Like we talk about Lawler, Dembski, Sean Bailey, Agadowski, Wolitarsky, O'Leary Orange, Janarian Grant.
I always forget about Janarian Grant when I think of this crew. Yeah.
Like that's deadly.
Yeah.
And yes, I do agree. The early 2000s or the 2000 receiving core with G. Roy Salmon by name alone, one of the most dominant. 2003, when Arlen Bruce came into the receiving core, was pretty good. But I think I will take the 1995 receiving core. It was a very young Milt Stiegel before he was established, but it was still Milt Stiegel. He was with Gerald Alphen, Gerald Wilcox, and David Williams. This is the year after Matt Dunnigan went nuts for 700 yards with Alfred Jackson in that crew. But yeah, I think I might take them right now, but I could see this crew totally obliterating. Polaris does have a good year too, but still, man, that's the balls that can be spread out there.
Yeah, on paper, I mean, this is a great crew that's coming up, right? Then it's gonna be fun to watch them. So we'll see, what happens. But that 2000 crew for me, and even 95, I totally forgot about those guys. Like, that's another one that's Alpha and Williams. That was fun to watch those guys too.
Yeah, I think we forget them because 95, those are going into rough years. Those are going into rough years.
Who was the quarterback in 95? Was it Dunnigan still?
Kevin McDougall? Was it Kevin
Garza
McDougall?
still around?
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't get me started on Sammy Garza, Cal Murphy's son-in-law. But he became a great coach. He wasn't a bad quarterback. He just didn't too well in that Grey Cup where Matt Dunnigan could see. I know. See, get me started. Let's move on before we get sad. Dane Evans trade, good for the Lions. Good for Dane Evans.
Yeah, I think it's good for both of them. Good for Dane Evans to get out of there in Hamilton, kind of not being held hostage, but Hamilton was just hanging on, waiting, waiting for the best deal, I guess, which you can't blame them in a way, but at the same time, let the guy go, get him out of there as soon as possible. So good.
It's a rough situation.
Yeah, and Evans still has a chance to possibly end up being a starter in BC if things don't work out for Vernon Adams.
Yeah.
And it gives BC that added depth behind there that in case something happens to Vernon Adams, that you still have a guy. Dominic Davis to me is not that guy. He's been around the league long enough. He's good for those 1 yard plunges.
Come to Winnipeg, replace Prukop.
Yeah, but he just signed to BC now. Is he going to go?
Well, then maybe they'll get rid of him. Maybe they'll release him.
I guess you don't need three, right?
Well, yeah, but you're right. Yeah, he's a good, solid backup. And since that MOP caliber year that Adams had, he's been hurt oft.
Yeah,
often. So I think it's a solid pickup for both teams.
Yeah, well, wasn't that the way that Trevor Harrison ended up taking the job this year because Vernon Adams got hurt? It wasn't because of play, right? I think he got hurt. So
yeah,
Harris came in. So
Campbell has already committed to Vernon Adams to take any doubt, which is a great coaching move, I think.
Yeah,
going into training camp, he's going to get the reps. There's no confusion there. So yeah, and it might be a good quarterback battle. Who knows?
Yeah, he gives you depth, right? CFL doesn't. All the teams don't have that in the CFL. So
exactly. One
guy gets hurt, the other guy steps in, hopefully.
Let's keep talking about quarterbacks. McLeod Bethel-Thompson committing to the USFL. Finally, but also I understand his situation with family, wanting to be closer to family or with family during the football season as well. So, it was great to have him around for a bit. He was a solid quarterback. And it's a Chad Kelly era now.
He is, yeah, and it's not the end of the world for the CFL that he was leaving when he was already 35. He's going closer to home. Good for him. Yep. You've been away for a long time. His thoughts of, hey, I'm going to go here in the USFL and play here because that gives me a better chance to get back to the NFL or whatever his reasoning was, is like, I don't think so, man. You're 35 and you just came off your best career season in the CFL. If you were going to get a chance at the NFL, it would probably be now, right? Especially with Rourke going over there and already opening that door a bit. So just tell the truth, man. You're going closer to home, and that was it. You just want to be there. You're going to make a bit of coin there, probably less than what he would in the CFL, but go out and play some football and have your family close to you. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
You mentioned like quarterbacks being old, and do you remember? I wonder how old Calvillo was when he was getting a sniff from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I remember that because I'm a Steeler fan. Yeah. But like in his prime in Montreal, he was getting a sniff from the Steelers, and he was pretty old then. But I don't know if it was an injury or it just didn't work out. But obviously he didn't go, and he became the greatest passing yards quarterback in CFL history.
Yeah, I think the NFL is going to go more for the younger guys, and there's enough guys in there like the Trubiskys and all that stuff that could still be your backup. Carson Wentz just got released, so he can be your backup. So,
you know what? Pittsburgh, please don't sign that guy.
You still got Trubisky, don't you? There, he was signed for 2 years, wasn't he?
Time to go. Let's go some hot topics.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. Has Timo Meier made the Devils a contender?
He's gotten them better, but that whole East division is crazy good, and the trades that the teams are making is going to be tough. So he does help them quite a bit. It does make them give them a bit more firepower, and adds a lot to their top six.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it makes them a contender. I don't know if they're there yet. They're still a pretty young team.
Yeah. Right now they're kind of a top 5 team in the league. In the league. So I'd say they were already contenders at this point. I think it makes them a little stronger of a contender. Not like cup guarantee, but more like you'll get by the first round pretty much now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like first, it'll be tough. I'm not saying, they're going to fly through it now, but this is a good piece to getting by that round at least. But it gets tight after that. Like you said, it's crazy.
Their first round matchup could be against the Rangers.
Ooh.
Right.
Did the Rangers trade for
who's looking like Kane's going there tomorrow. By tomorrow, that deal is going to be done, right?
Oh, geez.
Just wanted to take a quick look here. They're also within Carolina range. So if they can pass Carolina, maybe they can avoid even the Rangers and Carolina in the first round, and end up with, say, Islanders or Pittsburgh kind of thing.
I just think they're still a solid team. Oh, Pittsburgh. Well, let's get to them in a second. Well, let's get to them now. Fire Hextall, Chance, trouble in Pittsburgh. I love his response. He's a lot calmer as a GM than he is as a player. He just took it and said, hey, it's part of the job. That's what I signed up for. No, I love it. I would have, the Hacker Hextall response would have been way more entertaining for sure. But he took it as it is. So it's all good. It's fine. He might be fired after the year, but it's fine now.
Yeah, the thing is, you got those guys. You got Crosby, Malkin, Letang. You got 3 superstars there. They're having pretty good season. Defensively, as a whole, and goaltending is not great in Pittsburgh. So now you have a chance, apparently, to make a trade for Jacob Chychrun, but you'd have to give up a first rounder in 2025 and 26. Mike Sullivan, coach, wants him to make that deal. Hextall doesn't.
Yeah.
25, 26, that's probably Crosby. Malkin's probably done. Who knows, right? Letang. Or they're 2 more years older. So I don't know. Him making that deal right now, does it even make them a better? It doesn't make them a contender. They're not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So I could see Hextall's point of view. Hey, I'm going to hang on to these. But at the same time, now the fans want, go out on a high note with Crosby and Malkin while you can.
Yeah, they also know they're screwed with a couple of those contracts that
that's the other thing.
He doesn't have a history of signing good contracts at all.
Well, they just Kasperi Kapanen, they just put him on waivers to get rid of him, and he just signed him for 2 years, $3 million each or something like that. So
oh my goodness. Good for him. Another GM let's talk about, or GM coming in on Canada Day-ish, I think. Bary Trotz hired as a Nashville GM. Thoughts on that? For me, good for him. Winnipeg guy. But let me tell you, let me get this out of the way. if I ever hear that Winnipeg didn't give him the job because he also wanted the GM piece, I will lose my mind. I will lose my mind. I'll buy a Preds jersey until the leadership is changed. So good for him, but I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, it is good for him. Sucks for us because, they're still holding that hope that somehow he would end up here, even after this year or something like that. And now he's back with a rival, right? Again, back in Nashville. If I ever heard that too, that, he would have came here if he would have given the GM title. How's he as a GM though?
I don't know, but I think it'd be worth the gamble.
But
because
dude, I was fine with clearing out a house last year, getting rid of Chevy and Maurice. And especially if you want to rebuild, don't do it with Chevy again.
No, so I just say I've not heard anything. I'm nobody. I'm just YouTube Ray. So don't start spreading rumors. I'm just saying if I heard that. But honestly, with the loyalty in this franchise, would you be surprised if you heard that?
Not at all, actually, because like you say, the loyalty comes first. And it almost takes away from, where guys are.
Yeah.
Right. When a guy should be gone, you keep him for a few more years, and that's what Chevy, man. He's been in charge of this franchise since they came back.
Yeah.
And we've won 3 series. 2 series? Right? Only 2, actually. We lost the third round. We didn't beat St. Louis.
Are you including like the bubble year? I mean, the Edmonton year where we swept them? Sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, okay.
Not the bubble year.
Sure.
Sorry.
And then we got smoked by Montreal. Okay. So we won 3 series.
Yeah. I have to say that Edmonton won in there. Although I do admit Edmonton will probably sweep us in this back-to-back. Let's talk about your favorite hockey team on the side. The Toronto Maple Leafs made a trade for McCabe. Thoughts on that? Is this the move that we were talking about last week?
This is one of the moves that we said, because it's still the goaltending is still an issue. So we'll see what happens there. But I like this move as well. Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty. It adds to their D. It adds to their bottom 6. This Lafferty, I hadn't heard much about him, but I was looking up today. He's having a pretty decent season.
Yeah.
So he can chip in some goals possibly. So I do like the move again for Toronto, along with O'Reilly trade. Again, giving up a lot of conditional first-round picks and all that stuff. So pretty bare in that cupboard, but I like it. They show up their D, especially with Muzzin out. Yes. So now to me, if the goaltending can stay firm, they got a chance.
And it makes
maybe win a
grittier.
round. One round.
It makes them grittier. Yeah. It makes them grittier, which a lot of fans in Toronto and Leafs Nation, have been wanting to see. A little more grit, a little more toughness. And both players bring that. So good moves. And what's the other player they got? The forward there and the other he's like a third, fourth liner. And Carey?
I looked at his name every time, and I don't even think I could say it right.
He's a solid addition too to make them nice and solid and tough.
Yeah.
In the third and fourth line. So
yeah, their forward group and their D looks stable enough. We'll see what happens.
Props to what's his name?
Dubas.
Thank you. Let's talk about Russell Wilson just for a quick second. Rumors are that he wanted Schneider and Carrol fired. All I gotta say, good luck, Sean Payton. That's it.
Well, at least Sean Payton's come in and he's gotten rid of the office that Wilson had, the personal trainers of his own head coach, his own personal coach in and all this stuff. And he's already kicked them out the door, which apparently all that stuff was causing friction last year in Denver. So I don't know what quarterback he's looking to get a GM and a coach fired back in Seattle. Great move, buddy. I mean, I don't know that if you really thought that was going to work for you at all. Especially when you weren't having the greatest of seasons, right? They went out at the beginning of that season and let him cook, and it did not work. No. So and look at what Carrol did in the last year with Geno Smith.
Yeah,
So
I hear he might go to the Jets. I'd like to see that reunion.
Geno?
Yeah,
really?
Well, why not? He's on the market. Someone's gonna get him. Wouldn't that be an awesome reunion, though?
That would be something.
He's a big upgrade over whatever they had last year.
What about Aaron Rodgers? No, we're not talking about Rodgers again.
I'm over Aaron Rodgers. Well, I was over him a few
until
years
he makes
ago.
a move, until he makes a decision.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Chicago Bears leaning towards trading their number 1 pick. Good idea or bad idea?
I mean, it depends on the return, but I think right now would be a good idea. I mean, unless they're taking a quarterback, which they probably aren't. There's no really consensus high-end talent outside of quarterbacks that anyone's saying should be number one pick. Trade back. I mean, and the great thing is most of the teams that want a quarterback are in the either top 5 or at least top 10, right?
Absolutely. And the depth of draft is there.
Yeah. So you might not have to drop too far back, and you can add maybe a second, third round picks in there, or a future first even, or something like that.
Exactly.
So I say go for it. They got a lot more holes. O-line was terrible last year.
They got to build a team around this guy.
Yeah.
They have their franchise quarterback. Stop messing about. Start building a team around him. He can't run for his life for the next couple of years. You can't let that happen.
Fix his O-line, receivers. I still don't like that Claypool trade that you're giving up a second rounder for Chase Claypool, but
what's wrong with that?
Good for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Not for Chicago, man, because it's what, the 30th something pick? Is it the 33rd pick? Yeah, so terrible trade.
Very nice. You got a brickhead? I
do. I'm going to go give it to Keandre Miller, who spit in Drew Doughty's face yesterday in a game against the Kings. He gets my brickhead of the week for that play. Not totally well thought out by him. I know he's come out and apologized. He said he spoke to Doughty after the game, but just watching that was disgusting.
An accident? An accident. And it was on his face.
Yes.
That's what Doughty said. He had a loogie on his face.
It was big, man. Like I watched it and I was like, oh, like
that's not an accident.
No.
Come on. Don't lie. Just own it already.
Just own it. Lie. It's out there. There's videos. Own it. Goodness. Apologize. Move on. But jeez. Disgusting.
Good brickhead. Disgusting brickhead. Gross. Shout out. I'll go with Nick Bonte for Canada Soccer. And this is the only shout out he'll get for a while. Shout out for stepping aside, because it was time for y'all to step aside. The labor negotiations weren't going to go anywhere with him there. So shout out to you. Won't even say your name anymore for stepping aside. You got any shout outs?
Shout out for quitting, eh?
One of the only times you'll get a shout out for quitting on Ray and Benny Talk Sports.
Yeah, exactly.
We should get that on a shirt. Ray and Benny give out shout outs for quitting.
Thanks for quitting.
Yeah. You got shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to give out 3 of them today.
None for quitting.
None for quitting, though. I'm going to give one out to Carrie Einerson. Einerson. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Oh, God. For her championship for Pete on Sunday, 4th in a row at the World Scotties Championship. Her, Val Sweeting, Shannon Bouchard, and lead Brianne Harris. Second team to win 4 consecutive tournaments of hearts, Scotties tournaments of hearts. So shout out to them.
Nice.
I'm going to give a shout out to Desiree Scott, who received the Order of Manitoba and Queen's Jubilee medal over the weekend. And my last shout out, again, got a lot on this week. Manitoba's Kyle Hebert, who made the MLS debut for the St. Louis City over the weekend. So congrats to him.
Nice. I think I cursed my camera when I shouted out that guy for quitting.
Okay, it got mad at you.
Doubt, eh? Stupid camera. And look at me, stupid. I took my glasses off to see how blurry it was.
It's blurry right now.
Oh, yeah, still blurry. Nope, there you go. Nope, yeah. Benny, we got to go. You have anything to say to our friends?
Hey, it's better now. You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget, subscribe, follow, leave us a comment, leave us a like. And again, if you're listening to us on a podcast, Spotify, Apple, leave us a rating.
Right on. See, you just got to give a little sorry and you get it back. From the famous words of LeVar Burton, we'll see you next time. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.